Let's look at how manufacturing historically functioned. The model was an entirely linear process. You build a product, and after full assembly, you inspect it. We define this method as quality control, or QC. It relies on testing the physical output against a set of strict technical specifications at the very end of the production line. This chart exposes the financial vulnerability of this model. We see a flat baseline cost during production, but if a unit fails that final check, there is a massive vertical spike. All capital, labor, and time invested into that unit are permanently wasted. But the ultimate fatal flaw of pure QC is physical. There are critical product characteristics that simply cannot be measured with absolute certainty without destroying the product itself in the process. Consider the structural strength of poured concrete. When the raw material is placed in the trench, its final internal strength is completely unknown. The only way to test that concrete's internal integrity with 100% certainty is to drill out a core sample. You have to actively destroy the exact structure you are trying to measure. This measurement paradox forces a necessary pivot to quality assurance. If we cannot guarantee quality by measuring the final output, we have to guarantee it by strictly controlling the inputs. QC identifies a failure after the damage is already done. QA, however, is an organizational architecture designed to ensure a defect mathematically cannot occur in the first place. To control these inputs, ISO 9001 Clause 7 utilizes a specific framework known as 5M1E1I. This accounts for men, machine, material, method, measurement, environment, and information. You can visualize this operational framework as an octopus. It operates as a decentralized, highly resilient biological network, rather than a rigid corporate checklist. Within this network, the most complex and volatile input variable is human capital, categorized here as men. The pioneers of quality management recognized early on that human factors represent the single largest point of both failure and success in any operation. A frequent operational failure mode is attempting to mask severe understaffing by relying heavily on employee overtime. This reliance silently deteriorates organizational capacity. Mental and physical fatigue accumulate within the workforce, leading directly to a steady increase in defects. ISO Clause 7.2 defines competence as an active capability, not a training attendance record. It requires the continuous synthesis of knowledge, skill, and attitude to consistently produce results. A production system is dangerously fragile if its operational success relies solely on individual human endurance. This raises a critical question. What happens to the system's output when a highly competent key employee suddenly leaves or is incapacitated? Losing a human node presents an immediate structural threat to the entire operation. To prevent total systemic collapse, the network relies on the method input. This acts as the organizational DNA, storing processes securely. Method requires converting tacit knowledge, the specialized information stored only in a single employee's head, into explicit knowledge that the system can transfer at will. Cross-training and backup redundancy cannot be treated as afterthoughts. They must be deliberate architectural choices built directly into the workflow. When that explicit knowledge transfer occurs, the system repairs itself. True quality assurance ensures survival by making knowledge systemic rather than individual, allowing the organization to instantly regrow lost capacity. Beyond human capital, the framework mandates strict control over physical infrastructure, categorized as the machine input. The standard industrial approach waits for equipment to break down before addressing it. The QA mandate is strictly proactive. Consider facility maintenance. There is an immense cost difference between patching a roof on a dry, sunny day versus scrambling to repair a massive leak during a thunderstorm. This timeline shows how QA systems utilize continuous sensor data to dictate planned maintenance windows long before a physical failure occurs. This proactive approach feeds directly into the measurement input. Any equipment used to verify quality must possess absolute calibration that is strictly traceable to standard references. Measurement extends far beyond verifying the final output. It requires continuous process monitoring, like tracking the internal visible equipment drift in real time. By combining proactive infrastructure with continuous measurement, unpredictable, catastrophic physical failures become predictable, highly manageable data points. The final layers of the framework are environment and information. These represent the invisible medium in which the entire organization operates. While physical environments, like clean rooms and adequate lighting, are strictly required, the psychological environment is paramount to achieving quality. Deming established a core operational rule: leadership must remove fear from the workplace. If workers are terrified to report near misses or minor errors, the system's feedback loop breaks down entirely, rendering improvement impossible. This flow of feedback transitions directly into the information input. ISO 9001 specifically updated its terminology to documented information to reflect how modern data is truly handled. Modern data is highly fluid. A static design record from yesterday seamlessly becomes the active execution document for today. Even informal digital channels, like verified company messaging apps, serve as official systemic communication records if they are properly structured. Psychological safety and fluid documentation act together as the organization's central nervous system, allowing it to communicate internal threats and adapt instantly. We now have a complete, fully activated QA framework. Quality assurance is categorically not a department that sits at the end of a production line checking boxes. It is the deliberate engineering of an organizational immune system. By optimizing physical inputs, cross-training human capital, and establishing strict psychological safety, a fragile company transforms into a highly resilient organism. Under this architecture, product quality is mathematically guaranteed before production even begins. This comprehensive control over inputs marks the successful completion of ISO 9001 Clause 7 support. With its protective architecture perfectly aligned, the organization is finally equipped to survive the inevitable chaos of Clause 8 operations.